I'm so uncomfortable. Hi, I'm Sarah and welcome to my YouTube channel where I will be reading books. This month I decided to, for Halloween, just get the hair out of the way. Halloween, trick or treat. I read three. I read three short stories. Originally did not, I was trying to find books to read that were going to be creepy and freak me out. But yeah, so stick around and see if I did that. And if you like the video at all, please hit that like button. And if you want more of this content, if you like this content and you would like more of this content, hit that subscribe button. Hit that subscribe button and you will be treated to more content by me. So the first book that I read was a short story, and it was called Riding the Bullet by Stephen King. And truthfully, I did look at reading more Stephen King. Unfortunately, the apps that I use, Libby and BorrowBox, that I used to borrow from the library, from our local library, Library NI, our local libraries didn't have, the only Stephen King's they had on audiobook was Riding the Bullet, and I think some other ones, but I decided to go with Riding the Bullet, which wasn't very long. It was about an hour and a half or something like that. It wasn't very long. It says it's 66 pages, so it wasn't anything major. And it was the first Stephen King I'd ever read, because horror's not really a genre I've gone into, and truthfully I would have preferred to have read horror stories for Halloween, but I found my library was very lacking on horror. So yes, with Stephen King. And I listened to it on audiobook as I walked the dog at night. I walked it as I walked her at night, in the dead of night. No, because it's fall and it gets dark here pretty soon. It was about a teen who was at college, I think it was in Maine, because most of Stephen King's books are set in Maine. And he gets a call from, I think it's his neighbour. He gets a call that his mother has had a stroke, and so he hitchhikes. He hitchhikes on his way to get back to his mother. And who does he meet on the hitchhike? Who does he meet on the hitchhike? Ooh, scary, scary, scary. And I mean, you hear all these crazy, interesting stories about, hitchhikers dying. And me as a woman, I'd be far too scared to hitchhike, in case I got murdered or something. And even, I mean, I drive to work sometimes at silly times, like 3:30 in the morning and everything, for shifts. And like, I would drive past them. It's only happened a couple of times. And I'd be too scared. I truthfully would be too scared to pull over in case the hitchhiker murdered me and I ended up on the news. But that's the world that we live in, I guess. So yeah. Oh, as they're driving, they notice that the harvest moon is out, and so he makes a promise. Not a promise, more like a bargain. He says, "Please save my mother. I'll do anything. I'll give anything." And so he makes this promise, and he thinks the entire time about this promise that he's made, wishing he could take it back. On this car journey, he is given a choice. He is given a choice to, would he give up his own life for his mother's? And so I found that bit really interesting, because it really made me think, and it still makes me think now, about if given the choice. We say we would give up anything for something, but would we give up anything for someone or something? I mean, not to quote Taylor Swift and Bejeweled, it's, putting someone first only works if when you're in their top 5. So yeah, he regrets it, and lo and behold, something gives him the option, says that he can pick to die instead of his mother. And so yeah, that really made me think, would would I give up anything for my mother? Or not even my mother, but someone, if you think, in it, Stephen King talks very much about how fat this, how, it talks very much the, about the boy's mother. Well, one of the things that he thinks, whenever he's given this choice is, I'm a virgin, I haven't lived, and I haven't done, I haven't rode the bullet, and the bullet is a roller coaster, which I'm sure is a metaphor for something, but I really didn't. And so yes, it was very much, I haven't rode the bullet, and done that. Sorry, that's my dog trying to get in, because she's fickle like that. King writes about how fat this woman is, and how she smokes and how she didn't take care of herself, and it's sort of like justifying why he wouldn't give up his life for his mother, because his mother has already lived and he hasn't lived. And it's very much the selfish points of us that are trying to backtrack and trying to think, okay, yes, I would give up stuff, but not like my life. Not to spoil, I'm not going to tell you which he picks, but Stephen King very much, he was very, she's lived her life. I haven't lived mine. I'm a 19-year-old and I haven't had sex. I haven't done, all this. And his mother was a single mother who worked, I think at least 2 jobs. I think that's what it was. I think I gave it 3 stars, and I've never read King's writing before. And considering the other 2, this was different. This was very much different to the other 2 short stories that I read, and it was enjoyable. I'm not sure if it was who I was listening to, because I listened to it on audiobook. Because I don't have a Kindle or anything like to read like PDF files and stuff and stuff. I have my phone, and I find I just can't. On my phone, I find I just can't read. I never used to read fan fiction on my phone, so I don't know why I can't read like normal books on my phone. Who knows? Who knows? I just find it hard. I think the whole point of riding the bullet is death is a scary ride into the unknown. And if you have opinions, or if you've read this, please leave your opinions in the comment box. Is death a ride in the bullet? And did he ride the bullet? Or was the bullet the car journey? Did it make me want to read more Stephen King? Sort of. Well, it's not really my genre, and I don't have any Stephen King, and I don't know. We'll see. If I wouldn't go out of my way to buy Stephen King. So I think I'll just wait and see if the library has any more, and maybe next year I can read some more creepy horror books. Yeah, did I enjoy it? Yeah, it was a nice. Yeah, it was creepy, and did the trick, but didn't really scare me. But it is what it is. So the second short story that I read for Halloween, to get me in the mood for Halloween, was The Legend of Sleepy Hollow, by Washington Irving. I'm so sorry, I'm butchering the poor man's name. Oh my! I was talking about Sleepy Hollow and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow in work, and everyone was like, "No, I've never heard of that." And I'm like, seriously, how can you not have heard about it? So I started listening to this on my way to work, and I work at silly o'clock in the morning sometimes. So I was driving to work at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I decided to put this on since to start it. since my car journey is about 30 minutes. So I decided to start it, and oh my goodness. So the moon was out, and funny enough, it was a harvest moon. So it was this huge moon out in the sky. And yes, the creepiest thing ever. It comes out and it goes, Sleepy Hollow, the legend of Sleepy Hollow. How creepy is that? So that's how it starts. And it's got creepy music and everything, and it was really, I mean, Haley from Bookland, if you don't follow her, she's brilliant, please watch her. But when I put on Goodreads that I'd read, that I was in the process of reading it, I saw a comment because I follow her on Goodreads, and it said that it's a perfect Halloween read, and truthfully it is. It is. I enjoyed it, and I might listen to it next year. We'll see. It was try and get me in the mood. So yeah, I'll give you a brief description. So yes, the legend of Sleepy Hollow is about a quiet town and that have a legend of the Headless Horseman. And it's about Ichabod Crane, who is a school teacher. And he's very, if any of you have seen the movie, this Sleepy Hollow movie, I haven't seen the TV show, so I cannot comment on the TV show because I haven't seen it. But I've heard the TV show's good. I have seen the movie and the animated version. This is more the animated. The animated version stays more true to the short story, but I haven't seen Disney's animated version of it in years, so it's been a while. So yes, if you've seen the movie, it's nothing like the movie at all. In the movie, he was a detective, but Ichabod is a school teacher, teaching the little boys because in the 1800s they did not teach the girls. No, if you were rich, the girls got homeschooled or had a governess. But no, the little girls didn't get taught. But yes, there were definitely elements that we had that were in the actual book itself, in the movie, which was good and enjoyable. And I could see the elements like the church that turned out the Headless Horseman was buried in the church. And I did really like the movie and the book. I did enjoy. However, there were bits that I sort of like dazed out of because there was an awful lot of waffling, an awful lot of like hyping up everything and doing an awful lot of storytelling. And I'm not really used to reading books that were written in the 1800s. So let me see, when was it written? I mean, 1820s, 1820 something. Which is a while away. It's like, my goodness, it's like it's over 200 years old, this story. How creepy and scary is that? Yes, set in the United States. It said England, and I was like, what? No, it's most definitely not set in England. Ichabod believes in the supernatural, and it talks very much about the supernatural, about how his beliefs in witchcraft, and oh my goodness, can I remember his name? Mathers. Cotton Mathers. I think that's his name. If it's not, I apologize. And it talks about him, and like he talks about his beliefs in him and everything, which I'm like, oh my goodness, I know who that is, but I only know who that is because of Salem, the TV series. But yeah, and I'm sure it's very famous in like Massachusetts and all that. So I'm like, oops. But I'm not very good on my American history and witch trials and everything. And it also describes him as very weaselly. I mean, long and thin and with a pit of a stomach that just goes on forever because he goes around all these different houses and just eats everything inside. But one of the things that one of the comments that I saw someone write was that about how villainous he was, and I was like, what? And how he was the evil one. I was like, what? I didn't really see it, but I think I read that comment when I was not very far into the short story, and I listened and I was like, oh, and I can sort of understand why, because he was a school teacher. I mean, it's a whole different. I mean, in 1820s, I mean that's a whole different set of rules and everything going on, because it talks about how he would cane and punish the the stronger boys. He wouldn't have done it to the weaker ones. And I'm like, is that justice and mercy, or is that the fact that he's weak and thin and isn't muscular, and he sees himself as the weak one? So is he punishing the strong ones that were bullying him? And that in his own life he was still being bullied at that point. He had fallen. Actually, I'm not even sure if he fell in love with her. But one of the landowners, one of the big landowners, he fancied marrying the daughter. Um, but it wasn't for her. It wasn't at all for her. It was for her money. For he dreamed about living in this big house and owning everything, which he didn't. Yeah, he wasn't interested in her at all. Well, I think maybe she was pretty and everything, and so you know. So, I mean, back to my other point was, do we punish? I mean, the cane. I mean, he would have used the cane and punished them, and that's a completely different set of stones to talk about, because, you know, we don't beat children now, and what does this say about his character? I mean, you don't beat children now. Well, you're not meant to. I understand that no child should be beaten or afraid to go to school or afraid to be in their own home, and that's a completely different topic that wasn't really a topic in the 1820s, and it's not anything that's being said at that time, because it, it it was a form of punishment. It wasn't something that really you can talk about. So it, he wasn't trying to say anything that we would be looking at, because it's not really a topic that he would have dealt with. But yeah, he was being bullied by the other men that fancied the landowner's daughter, that I can't think of her name right now. So they bullied Ichabod. I mean, they did horrible things to the schoolhouse, and to him, to scare him, to scare him off her. I mean, I think no one comes out of this very well, but eventually, eventually you meet the headless horseman, as I'm sure you were aware this was going to happen. Spoilers, but you knew that was going to happen eventually. And yeah, so the whole question of the book is it real? Is what's happening real? And is it, did this happen? And is it real or is it not? Is it a figment of our imaginations that we've made up, that we have created this monster in our heads because we believe in this thing, or is it real itself? It was a wild ride. But yeah, enjoyable. I can't remember what rating I gave it. Oh, I think I gave it 3 stars, and I mean, it was yeah, but I think it was because it was an awful lot of waffling. But the audiobook was fantastic. The audiobook version that I listened to on Libby was fantastic. It was so good. I mean, it had creepy music, and it was Sleepy Hollow and all that, and it was so creepy, and it had music, and I think when they were talking about the dance, that they had a dance at one point, and they had music on, and so it was great, and it was really creepy. It was really creepy. So yes. But I don't think it scared me. I don't really think it scared me. Um, Actually, no, that's a lie. It did. I was walking through I was walking the dog in like the woods, and yeah, and it was very creepy, very very creepy. So, it did give me a little bit of creepiness, so that's always good. So yes, moving on to the last short story that I read for Halloween, which was blue drum roll, which was The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde by Robert Louis Stevenson. And I haven't read any of his books. 2 class month, which I didn't realise were short stories. I think I knew the Legend of Sleepy Hollow was a short story, but I don't think I knew that the Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was a short story. Yeah, this one was an awful lot of waffling. An awful lot. Oh my goodness, so much waffling. So much waffling. Like, seriously, how much waffling can you do? Oh, so much waffling. I just couldn't. Oh my goodness. I mean, seriously, most of the action didn't happen till like the last few pages. It really was just, yeah. If I could have skipped quite a bit of this, I would have. So it's about this lawyer a lawyer and his friend are walking, and here's this story about an incident with a Mr. Hyde. So in this incident, it doesn't put him in a very good light. I think he attacks a child. Something like he attacks a child and then has to pay for the child. Yes, so the lawyer, he hears about Mr. Hyde, and he then realized, I have heard this name before. My friend Dr. Jekyll has just has named Mr. Hyde as the heir to everything he owns in case he goes missing more than 3 months. And so he worries then for his friend, and he goes to talk to his friend, and Dr. Jekyll is hi Artemis. His friend is like, oh, no, don't worry, he is a lovely man, and yes, he is. And what we've heard of Mr. Hyde is not anything lovely. Yes, the lawyer, which I can't remember his name, is very confused as to why his friend would do this, because why would you? Comes worried for his friend, Dr. Jekyll, that Mr. Hyde, when he realizes that he is the heir, because of what he knows of Mr. Hyde, he's worried that Mr. Hyde will kill Dr. Jekyll or do something to Dr. Jekyll to get Dr. Jekyll's money. And so he worries about that, and of course during the time you know it's this whole backwards and forwards, and it's like you hear the stuff Mr. Hyde does, and I mean, it takes an awful lot of time to get to the twist and to get to what's really happening, which I understand it's a short story, and that's the big twist, is that they're both the same person, but it just takes so long to get there. And you know what, maybe speaking as someone who knows the story and knows what happens, it's it's harder, because I'm like, story. It reminded me an awful lot of the story of the two wolves. The two wolves that you talk about. And it's like, wolf wins, the wolf that you feed. And this very much feels like this with Jekyll and Hyde, because going into it, I mean, most people, I suppose, are allowed, if you don't know this, but Jekyll and Hyde are the same person, and Jekyll does this to himself. But in the short story, you really don't find that out till the very end, and it's yeah. I'm like, seriously, could you not? Yeah, it's probably because I've seen different adaptations of it in different fictional bits, and so from the get-go that they're both the same person. And one of the things that struck me was I didn't realise that Jekyll was an older man, and that Hyde talks about Hyde being a younger man, and I'm not sure if he meant because he was brand new and he had been made brand new, by Jekyll, and that could have been the fascination. But it was the fact that there were two sides. You know, Jekyll's the good side and Hyde's the bad side. And eventually, Jekyll is the one that's in control, and he's the one that's taking the potions to make Hyde. But eventually, Hyde becomes stronger because he's given Hyde the power to become, and he's given Hyde he's given Hyde his own place, his own house, and his own area to live as Hyde. And he had control as Hyde, and he can remember what's going on as Hyde, and slowly he loses control the more control he gave to Hyde. And he lost his goodness, and the evil took over. And I guess that's the thing. They do say of evil, it takes hold slowly, and you know, the little bits that you give it, you don't realise it's taken over until you've completely lost yourself, and you've lost all the goodness and control to be good. And I guess that's the same with all addictions, where you just lose control. The more you give into it, the less control you have, and the more that you lose yourself as a person. Oh, sorry, not to go. I mean, this is meant to be Halloween, creepy, not like talking about addiction or or evil versus good. But yes, in the end, it was creepy. It was creepy, but yeah, I feel I didn't understand most of what was going on, and could it be because I don't read classics and I'm not really in that mind frame? Maybe if I read more, I would understand it more. But yes, those are the 3 short stories that I read for Halloween to get me in the creepy vibe. And I definitely recommend Sleepy Hollow, The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. I definitely think it's more Halloweeny. Yeah, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, I would skip through an awful lot of it. And just read the end, because the end was interesting and said an awful lot of on us as a human species. So yes, it was good and enjoyable. So I recommend. And Riding the Bullet was interesting, but just weird. It just had this, I wouldn't say like a smoky vibe to it. It had, I can't even think what to describe it. Like, Riding the Bullet had like this weird texture to it, like a texture that you get in your mouth. I just can't describe it. I really can't just describe it, but it's just a vibe. But yes, so that is what I read for Halloween. So yes, and I recommend. So yes, I'll go ahead and read. Oh, this is Artemis. This is Artemis who's been complaining. Yes, have you been complaining? Yes. Yes, were you with me while I listened to the creepy books? Were you walking with me as I listened to the creepy books? Yes, were you? Yes.